Well, let's get to the MCG now, because this was the other big story from the round so far. The blowtorch has been on Simon Goodwin and his D's, but on Saturday, Melbourne got their very first win of the season. In fact, it was their first win in 245 days. Kate, you were there at the MCG to see them stun the Dockers by 10 points.
Yeah, well, they started with pressure and they got their game going through centre bounce clearance. And for once, it was the Melbourne of old that were dominating clearance and running sort of shoulders out through the front door of a clearance and being able to use their forward 50 entries to their advantage. But a person that won't be too happy is Justin Longmuir, and the Fremantle team itself was really disappointing.
Yeah, so Fremantle, we're going to unpack the fallout from that and hear from Justin Longmuir in just a moment. Max Gawn was so impressive, a captain's game in that second half in particular. Harrison Petty kicked 4 goals. Jack Viney set the tone early with 25 disposals and did a great job on Caleb Sarong. But I want to ask you about Melbourne's ball movement, because when you were there live at the MCG, was this one of the biggest changes that you noticed today?
Yeah, clear change. The first one here, Oliver, he goes to kick that, throw it on the boot and kick it inside forward 50. That's what we've been seeing. We've been seeing them not bring each other into the game. Even here, this chain of handball, each player is looking up, seeing that there's not an option. Melbourne, the last 5 weeks, bomb that long down the line. It's a turnover. They look for a better option. Now they've got the ball in the corridor. They get it. They move it quickly. They take a risky kick, but it's on. And Cozzy Pickett, the man that was on fire, delivers it inside forward 50. Free kick Melbourne, have a shot on the end of that one. And then this one, just their ability to bring each other into the game is really impressive with this. So handballs out to a player in a better position, move it wide and go from there. But it's been a huge change to their ball movement. It's been a real improvement, and yeah, it's been something that I've been asking to see for a long time, but we haven't seen it.
Do you think it's more personnel based, the fact that they've been able to get that ball movement and improve on that this week? Is it because they made some actual changes at the selection table?
Well, I think the credit has to go to the combination of the two. So they've been talking for a while about wanting to change the way they move the ball, and the personnel that they took out were tall players. So Bailey Fritsch, Van Rooyen, 2 tall players, 2 experienced players as well. A little bit of a message sent, dropping those players. But they brought in smalls. So they brought in players that, not sort of genuine small forwards, but players that are a little bit more nimble and a little bit more able to put pressure in the forward half and play a role. And that's what we saw. We saw these players playing a role, and their ability to then have a specific target inside forward 50 in Harrison Petty, who got most of the ball coming his way. It was a focal point, and they played to their role, they played to their game plan, and they had the personnel to do so. So I think it was a combination of the two, and you've got to give Simon Goodwin credit for that. He made the changes, they made the changes with their game plan, and were finally able to execute it for a full 4 quarters. But if you have a look at that, the focal points going forward. So Van Rooyen, Fritsch in the last 5 rounds, you can see there's a split between the two. So yes, sometimes you can play with 2 tools. We've seen Adelaide be able to play with 3. Some teams need a focal point in front of goal. Today it was Harrison Petty. He got all of the traffic that was long, high balls coming in, 13 targets. Cozzy Pickett, the next highest, with 5. So it just shows me they knew where the ball was going, so their smalls could get to the feet, either score a goal or lock it in their forward half for more time.
It's a winning formula so far, and I'm not sure Jacob Van Rooyen and Bailey Fritsch will get back into the team. They played the VFL at Casey earlier today and only had 2 goals so between the two of them, so a goal apiece. It is, though, time now for Kate's King, and there was someone who delighted us in attack, and it's Cozzy Pickett.
Oh, it's got to be Cozzy Pickett. I mean, honourable mention has to go to Max Gawn.
Yes.
His second half was phenomenal, both in attack and defence, but Cozzy Pickett, he's the human highlight reel at the moment. This was phenomenal, a huge grab, used his own teammate Harrison Petty as a stepladder. It didn't matter who was under it for him. And then this one, this is going to be shown everywhere.
So electric.
If that's not bad enough, he's turned around, Jode the Goose him, and then give him in the peace sign.
Yeah,
it's
but
the peace sign.
5 goals. He should have done the 5.
Yeah, well, I think he had trouble working out how many he'd kicked, because he'd kicked that many, but it's nothing. At the ground, we weren't sure what it was. We weren't sure if it was going to be a $1,000 fine, but it wasn't. It was the peace sign, nothing else.
So while Melbourne's first win of the season is massive, on the flip side, Fremantle is a huge story too, Kate. And I want to take you back to their season launch when their president, Chris Sutherland, stood up there and said, the time for talking is done. It is now time for action, and there's so much hype about Fremantle. I had them in my pre-season prediction as a top 4 side, and this game against Melbourne today, to me, was a chance at the MCG to make a statement. And if you are a legitimate, genuine premiership contender, you should win a game like this against a club that is on their knees at 0-5, and they could not get the job done. In my opinion, right now, they're a pretender. Am I being too harsh?
No, I think I completely agree with you. And I had the same sentiments for them coming into the season. They'd be a top 8 team. I think their talk off field showed that they thought they'd be a top 8 team. We go back to the pre-season match, or the Indigenous All-Stars match, where they played a vanilla brand because they didn't want other teams to see their game plan. Well, it's come back to really bite them, hasn't it? And I love how bold they were in saying that they would, the time for talk was over and it's ready for action, but so far we've seen very little action. A really poor performance against Geelong in round 1, the loss to the Swans then straight after that. Got back on track a little bit, beating West Coast, but it's been pretty disappointing, and you can't sum up this afternoon any differently for Fremantle. It was disappointing, it wasn't good enough, and their coach said the same thing.
Yeah, he basically said they weren't tough enough for long enough.